I thought rideshares were supposed to make life safer. I never imagined being trapped in the back seat while the driver kept missing turns on purpose. I told him to stop, but he locked the doors, looked in the mirror, and said, "Don't look back. Whatever you do, don't." Then he went completely silent. My name is Lena Marlowe. I'm 27. I work at a community mental health clinic, and I've helped people manage fear every single day. But that night, fear took control of me. Before I tell you how it happened, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. What would you have done if your driver said those words to you? It was a cold winter evening in Portland, the kind that makes the air feel sharp on your skin. I'd stayed late at the clinic finishing paperwork after a long day listening to other people's stories of stress and trauma. By the time I closed my laptop, most of the lights in the building were off. I felt proud of the work I did, but emotionally drained, like someone had turned my energy down to a dim light. Outside, the sky had already gone dark. Streetlights shimmered on wet pavement, and my breath hung in the air as I pulled my coat tighter. I didn't feel unsafe, just tired and ready for quiet. My sister Ria had texted earlier, "Share your ride tonight, okay? I get nervous when you work late." She's always been the protective one. I sent her a quick thumbs-up emoji, not thinking much about it. Mom had also called earlier that morning, saying her usual line, "Your instincts will always keep you safe, honey. If something feels off, trust it." I smiled when she said it, because she always believed intuition was a kind of sixth sense. I didn't know that before the night ended. I'd understand exactly what she meant. The rain started again, tapping lightly against my umbrella. I opened my Uber app, requested a ride, and within 2 minutes, a gray sedan pulled up to the curb. The driver's name was hidden by initials on the screen, but the license plate matched. Everything seemed normal. The man inside gave a polite nod. "Lena?" "Yes." I smiled slightly as I got in. The car smelled clean, like new leather and air freshener. "Long day?" he asked while adjusting the mirror. "Very," I said, fastening my seatbelt. "Just ready to get home." He gave a short laugh and said, "I'll get you there." His tone sounded calm, ordinary. The heater hummed softly, and a local news station played on low volume. Outside, traffic moved steadily, and the city looked peaceful. For a few minutes, everything was perfectly fine. I scrolled through my messages, texted Ria that I was on my way, and watched the familiar route flash on the screen. We turned onto the main road, headlights reflecting off the wet street. I leaned back, grateful to finally relax after a draining day. But even in calm moments, the body sometimes senses what the mind ignores. As we passed a coffee shop I usually stopped at, something in my chest tightened. I brushed it off as exhaustion. The car seemed to be taking a slightly different way, but I assumed the GPS had rerouted because of traffic. Nothing unusual. Still, the feeling didn't fade. I looked up at the rearview mirror. The driver's face was calm, focused, and unreadable. My phone's blue dot moved slowly across the screen. I watched as we passed another familiar intersection, then another, and something clicked inside me. We weren't following the route anymore. I straightened in my seat, heart starting to beat faster. The warm safety of the car began to feel smaller. My voice stayed steady as I asked, "Did you miss the turn?" He didn't answer right away. He just gripped the steering wheel and said, "I know." That one sentence changed everything. If you're still watching, stay with me, because what happened next will make you question every ride you've ever taken. And before I continue, make sure to subscribe and tell me in the comments what city or country you're watching from. My stomach tightened the moment he said, "I know." Something about the tone, quiet, controlled, like he had already made a decision before I even spoke, sent a wave of fear crawling up my spine. I sat up straighter. The warmth of the heater suddenly felt suffocating. The windows fogged slightly from the temperature difference, turning the outside world into a blur of streetlights and rain streaks. I swallowed hard and tried to keep my voice steady. "I'd like you to turn around, please." My street was back there. Still no eye contact. His hands were locked on the wheel, knuckles slightly pale, eyes fixed forward. The windshield wipers squeaked rhythmically, filling the silence in a way that only made it feel louder. We passed another familiar street, one he should have turned onto, and my heartbeat started pounding in my chest like it wanted out. "Sir, you missed my turn again." This time my voice came out sharper, cracking slightly. I reached for the door handle, testing it. It didn't move. My fingers froze, locked. My throat tightened and fear started to rise like a tide inside me. Before I could say anything else, he spoke again in a low, firm voice. Not threatening, not angry, but serious in a way that sent chills through me. "Do not look back. Whatever you do, do not turn around." The words struck me like cold water. My breath caught. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. His jaw clenched. His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror for half a second, then back to the road. "Just stay facing forward." I felt my palms sweating. My body wanted to twist around. My brain screamed to look, but instinct did something stronger. It froze me in place. I stared at his reflection, searching for some hint he was joking, confused, or unstable, but his expression wasn't wild. It was tense, focused, almost afraid. My voice shook as I said, "I want to get out. Pull over right now." He finally looked at me, not in anger, but with a tight, urgent fear. "If you turn around, they will know you noticed. I need to get you somewhere safe. Trust me just a little longer." My heart dropped. "They?" My voice was barely audible. "Who is they?" He didn't answer. He pressed the lock button again, even though the doors were already locked. A pointless gesture, yet it made my stomach twist tighter. I slowly slid my hand into my coat pocket, fingers gripping my pepper spray. I kept it hidden, ready. Outside, the city started changing. We were leaving the busy streets. Buildings spaced out, fewer cars, dimmer lights. Every turn felt like we were moving further away from safety. I tried my phone again, still recording. I hit the emergency dial, no bars. The signal had dropped. I stared at the screen, a mix of helplessness and anger rising in my chest. I would not go quiet. My voice pushed through the fear. "Listen to me. I will scream. I will jump out when you stop. Do not think I am helpless." He didn't look offended. If anything, he looked like he expected that. "Screaming won't help right now. It will only draw the wrong attention. I am not your enemy." He spoke slowly, like he was choosing every word with care so he didn't break something fragile. I didn't trust him. I didn't trust anyone at that moment. But a different fear grew, one behind us. The feeling someone might be there, watching, following. A pressure on the back of my neck grew heavier with each passing second. He made a sharp turn. My body leaned to the side, and instinct nearly forced my head to look behind us. I clenched my jaw and stared forward instead, breathing faster. "You need to tell me what is going on," I demanded through tight breaths. He didn't answer right away. His hand tapped the steering wheel once, fast, like nerves slipping through the calm mask. "Someone has been behind us since the clinic. They waited until you got in the car." My blood ran cold. "No," I said, shaking my head. "There's no way. I would have seen." "You did not look," he cut in. "Most people don't." My fingers dug into my pepper spray. My mind raced. Who would follow me? Why? Was he lying? Was this part of something bigger? A soft vibration buzzed from his jacket pocket, like a muted walkie alert, not a phone ringtone. His hand went to it immediately, but he didn't pull it out. His shoulders were tight. "Almost there," he muttered. "Almost where?" I scanned the road ahead. We were approaching a busier intersection again. Streetlights, a gas station, people. A wave of relief hit me. If he stopped here, I would run. As we slowed at the red light, I inched my fingers toward the door lock again, ready to unlock and bolt the second we stopped. My muscles tensed. That was when he spoke again, voice lower than before. "If you leave this car right now, you won't make it home." His eyes met mine in the mirror, not threatening, begging, warning. My breath shook. The light turned green. We moved forward, and all I could do was hold on tight, fight the rising panic, and try to decide which danger was real. The man driving me, or what might be behind us. I sat frozen, heart pounding so loud it felt like it filled the car. Every part of me wanted to act, to run, to do something, anything. But another voice in my head reminded me, Panic can be dangerous. I had seen what panic does in crisis situations at work. It can trap you faster than any locked door. I forced myself to breathe through the tight knot in my chest. If there really was someone behind us, I needed clarity, not chaos. I shifted slightly in my seat and reached into my bag as quietly as I could. My fingers wrapped around my phone. I didn't move fast. I didn't reveal what I was doing. I opened the camera and turned on the front-facing lens, angling it toward the back window without lifting the phone high. My pulse thudded in my ears. At first, all I could see was darkness and my own reflection. Then, faintly, 2 headlights appeared behind us. Not close, but close enough to track us. The shape of the car was difficult to make out through raindrops on the window and glare from streetlights, but something about the way it moved made my stomach twist. Not speeding, not weaving, just there, matching our turns. The urge to turn around fully hit me like a wave. I clenched my jaw and stared at my screen instead. The driver glanced in the mirror and saw me looking at my own phone. He didn't snap, didn't panic. Instead, he gave a small nod like he knew I figured it out. "You see it," he murmured. I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to validate anything he said. Trust was a luxury I didn't have anymore. But something shifted in me. I didn't feel safe with him. I didn't feel safe outside the car either. I was stuck between 2 unknowns. "If someone is following us," I said, steadying my voice, "you need to tell me where we're going." He didn't hesitate. "A police substation, less than 3 minutes away." I stared at him. "If that's true, why didn't you say that earlier?" His grip tightened on the wheel. "Because if you knew, you would have reacted. You might have tried to get out. They would have seen. They need to believe you don't know." I hated how the logic stung in my mind. I hated even more that it made sense. It scared me that part of me felt relief hearing the word police. Still, my trust wasn't free. "You need to prove it," I said. "Give me something." He lifted one hand from the wheel, slow and controlled, and pulled a small wallet from his jacket. Inside was a volunteer public safety ID, issued by the city, with his photo and a badge number. I had no way to confirm it, but it didn't look fake. It looked official enough to make my chest tighten again, not from fear this time, but from the confusing mix of doubt and hope. I kept my hand on my pepper spray. "If you lie to me, I will defend myself." "That's good," he replied, eyes still on the road. "Keep your mind sharp." The way he said it scared me and steadied me at the same time, like he actually wanted me alert. Like this wasn't about power or control for him. We reached another intersection. Cars here, streetlights, people. I scanned the area quickly. Gas station, dry cleaner, a small diner with fluorescent lights. Normal life happening just feet away. I could scream. I could get out and run. The thought burned inside me. But then I saw the car behind us again. Not close, not obvious, but turning the same direction. No hesitation. No confusion. A chill washed through me. 3 more turns, he whispered. "Hold on." I gripped my bag tighter. My breath shook, steady but heavy. A memory flashed in my head. My mom telling me once, "Sometimes danger doesn't shout. It waits quietly for you to ignore it." At the time, I rolled my eyes. Tonight, those words felt carved into my bones. As we approached the next turn, the driver suddenly slowed and leaned forward, like he was listening for something only he could hear. My heartbeat jumped. We turned again. Another street. More light. More cars. My muscles tensed so hard my legs hurt. My voice dropped to a whisper without meaning to. "Please let this be real. Please let me be going somewhere safe." He answered without looking back. "I don't want anything to happen to you. I need you to believe that for just another minute. 1 minute. 60 seconds. That was all he asked. I didn't trust him, but I trusted my instincts enough to know running blindly could be worse. I wasn't surrendering. I was choosing strategy. So I sat, every muscle ready, every thought sharp. The car turned down one last street, and in the distance, through the fog and rain, I saw the glow of a small police station sign. Relief and fear hit at the same time like twin storms colliding. We were almost there, and whatever truth waited for me at those doors, I was ready to face it, not helpless, not frozen, determined to survive. This wasn't fear anymore. It was control. The closer we got to the police substation, the more my body trembled, not from cold, but from the weight of uncertainty crushing my nerves. I kept staring at the small, illuminated police sign ahead, barely visible through the misted windshield. It didn't feel real. It felt like a lifeline that might disappear if I blinked. The car behind us remained steady, matching distance, like a shadow glued to our bumper at a respectful but chilling space. As we approached the driveway leading to the station, the driver slowed down and rolled into the small parking area. There were only 2 police cars visible outside, and dim security lights flickered overhead. He brought the vehicle to a stop just before the entrance ramp. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. This was my moment. If he lied, I was about to find out, in the worst way. If he told the truth, then this nightmare was almost over. He turned to me slowly, voice low but clear. "Wait until I give the signal. Do not run yet." I stared back at him with wide, tired, furious eyes. "You don't get to give me orders," I snapped. "You are right," he said. "Just trust me for 30 more seconds." My chest tightened. Every instinct begged to scream, to bolt, to claw my way out and sprint toward the door. My hand stayed wrapped around my pepper spray so tightly my knuckles ached. Then he blinked twice, calm, steady, like a silent cue. He leaned his head slightly forward and flashed his headlights in a quick pattern. 3 short flicks. 2 seconds later, the station door swung open. A police officer stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, and alert. His hand rested near his holster, not drawing, but ready. His expression wasn't relaxed. It was focused, serious, scanning the parking lot like he knew exactly what situation he was stepping into. He walked toward the car with purpose, stopped at a safe distance, and called out, "Lena Marlowe?" Hearing my name from a stranger in uniform nearly made my legs give out. That was all the confirmation I needed. I pushed the door open before the driver could speak and scrambled out, still clutching my spray. I kept distance between both men, eyes darting from one to the other. "Yes, I'm Lena," I said, voice trembling. The officer nodded once, firm. "You're safe. Come with me." My knees wobbled, and for a second I thought I might collapse. The officer stepped closer and guided me gently but firmly toward the station door. I didn't look back at the Uber driver. I couldn't. My brain was in survival mode, still expecting the world to tilt again at any moment. Inside, the station felt strange, quiet, fluorescent lights humming, a desk officer looking up with confusion. The officer who escorted me inside spoke quickly into his radio, alerting someone about a trailing vehicle. My heart tried to climb into my throat. Another officer headed outside. The tension in the room thickened. A moment later, the radio buzzed. "Suspicious vehicle exiting. No plates. Units en route." My knees buckled. I grabbed the edge of a chair to stay upright. The man who brought me in, Officer Dean Holloway, turned to face me. His voice softened, but stayed grounded in urgency. "We have been watching a pattern in this area. Women followed after late shifts. You got picked up tonight. That driver recognized it before you did and redirected you here. He made the right call." I stared at him, stunned. I had spent half an hour believing I might be murdered by the person trying to protect me. Fear twisted with guilt and relief all at once. Tears blurred my vision, burning hot. "But how? How did he know?" I whispered. Officer Holloway nodded slowly. "He's a former Army intelligence transport driver. He volunteers with our public safety watch. Recognizes tailing behavior. You got lucky he picked you up." Lucky. My breath shook. I had never hated and appreciated a word at the same time. A door clicked open and the Uber driver stepped inside, escorted by another officer. He didn't look smug or proud. He looked tired, drained, maybe even shaken himself. He didn't come closer, kept respectful distance. He simply said, "They weren't amateurs. They were planning to isolate you." My vision pulsed. The room felt heavy. I clutched the edge of a bench and wiped my face with the back of my sleeve. "Why me?" My voice cracked. "Why was someone following me?" Officer Holloway answered, voice solemn. "We don't know yet. Sometimes it's random target selection. Sometimes they watch routines. You fit the pattern, leaving work alone at night. Predictable route, predictable schedule, predictable, safe routine. The very thing I believed protected me had painted a map for someone else. I didn't thank the driver right away. I couldn't speak, the words tangled in shock. Instead, I just stood there breathing unevenly, realizing how close I had come to walking into something invisible and dangerous. He turned to leave with an officer escorting him to provide a formal statement. Before the door closed behind him, he glanced back once, not with expectation or pride, just a quiet acknowledgement of the shared nightmare we just walked through. I exhaled a long, shaking breath. I didn't feel victorious. I felt awakened and incredibly, painfully human. Sitting inside the small interview room, I felt like time finally slowed down after sprinting through a nightmare. The walls were plain, the fluorescent lights buzzed low, and the chair beneath me felt harder than it should have. I held a paper cup of water in my hands, but it barely made it to my lips. My fingers shook too much. Every few seconds, I caught myself staring at the door, half expecting someone to burst through it, or a shadow to move in the hallway. That sense of normal safety I used to carry without thinking was gone, replaced by a weight I did not know how to put down. Officer Dean Holloway came back in, clipboard in hand. He didn't sit right away. He stood for a moment like he understood I needed a second to ground myself. After everything, I didn't feel intimidated by him. I felt anchored by his presence, like the room wasn't spinning completely out of my control. He spoke gently, but there was a seriousness in every word. "We traced some camera feeds near your job," he said. "We found a dark vehicle parked across the street for almost 2 hours." My breath caught. "Watching me?" "Watching the building," he corrected, but his tone told me the truth. They were waiting for someone, waiting for me. He set the clipboard down and sat across from me. "We don't have confirmation if you were the target or if you were part of a pattern, but tonight, you made it out safe. That is what matters." Made it out safe. The words echoed like both comfort and warning. I nodded slowly, wiping under my eyes with the back of my sleeve. I wasn't sobbing, but tears came in quiet waves, more from shock than sadness. Not dramatic, not loud, just the quiet release of pressure after surviving something I didn't fully understand yet. "I thought he was going to hurt me," I admitted. My voice trembled, but stayed steady enough to hold. "I really believed he was dangerous." "That reaction kept you alert," he said calmly. "Fear is not weakness. Fear is information." I never understood that so clearly until tonight. I always thought fear was something to push down, something that made you look weak. But sitting there, still breathing, still whole, I began to understand that listening to fear, channeling it, reacting smartly, is its own kind of strength. A knock sounded on the door and I startled, heart jumping again. Officer Holloway held up a hand lightly. "It's okay." The door opened and my sister rushed in before anyone could fully finish the motion. Ria's eyes were red and swollen, cheeks still wet from crying. When she saw me, she didn't speak at first. She just wrapped her arms around me like she was afraid I might slip through her fingers. Her grip was tight, trembling with relief. "You scared me," she whispered against my shoulder. I clung back. I scared myself. For a moment, we stayed like that, holding each other and breathing in the reality that I was still here. I could feel her heartbeat against mine, wild and raw. She pulled back and cupped my face gently like she needed to see my eyes to believe it. "You are coming home with me," she said. It wasn't a question. I nodded. I didn't argue. Tonight, independence didn't feel empowering. Safety did. As we walked out, the Uber driver stood near the front desk with another officer. He didn't approach, didn't interrupt. He simply lowered his head slightly when our eyes met, like a quiet acknowledgement of a shared storm. I hesitated, then gave a small nod back. It wasn't forgiveness or gratitude wrapped in dramatic emotion. It was something simpler, recognition. Two strangers whose paths crossed in a terrifying, strange way. Then we left without another word. Outside, the night felt different. The rain had stopped and the streets were slick and shining under streetlights, but the air felt thinner, sharper, like I was breathing new oxygen. I held my sister's arm while we walked to her car. Every shadow made my breath tighten, and I watched our surroundings with a new kind of awareness. Not panic, just sharper eyes. Once we reached her apartment, my phone buzzed with messages. My mom, my coworkers, missed calls from unknown numbers. I sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, hands still trembling from leftover adrenaline. My mom called, voice shaky with worry and gratitude. "Your instincts kept you safe," she said softly. "Fear does not always mean run. Sometimes it means watch. Sometimes it means think." I closed my eyes and let her words settle. She always said intuition is a form of protection, and tonight it felt less like superstition and more like truth. Later, when the apartment was quiet and my sister finally fell asleep on the chair across from me, I stared out at the city lights through the window. I wasn't the same person who stepped into that Uber earlier. A part of me wished I could go back to ignorance, to innocent trust in everyday routines. But another part knew this experience carved something deeper into me, a sharpened awareness, a stronger spine, and an understanding that the world can shift in seconds. I didn't feel broken. I felt awakened. My life would continue, but I would move with new eyes. I would trust my instincts. I would never treat safety as an assumption again. Fear changed me, but it did not take me. I survived. And sometimes surviving is the most powerful thing a person can do. If this story kept you watching, subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Stay alert, trust your instincts, and take care of yourselves.